Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to our first sit down video like this in a long time. If you're new here, my name is Laken and I am here on a mission to help you achieve your personal goals. And I do that by sharing my own goal journey, by sharing weekly vlogs where I talk about my everyday life and how I incorporate goals into my life. And for the last 5 years, I have also been going live on YouTube. And after 5 years of going live here on YouTube, I have decided to end that era. And that means that we are bringing back these sit down chatty topic videos. So a lot of the topics I'm gonna do, these style of videos, are requests from you. They're requests that somebody made, a question somebody asked that I thought that would make a fantastic video. So you are always welcome to comment on any one of these videos, send me a message, send me an email, let me know if there's a topic that you would like to see a video on that would be helpful for you. But let's get into the topic for today, which is prioritizing. So you have probably heard me say this in a lot of places over the last couple of months on Instagram, lives, vlogs, that our family was thrown quite a handful of curveballs. Some of them I am assuming by the time you're seeing this video, I have shared, and some of them I may never share. But all that to say is our regular routine of being in the same place, having the same help with childcare, having the same support systems has looked incredibly different over the last couple of months, and not any week is not the same. And so I really have had to figure out how to prioritize. I've had to, both personally and work. The video today is going to talk about both of those things because there have been situations that I have had to prioritize, okay, what absolutely has to get done and what can get cut around the house, and whether that's cleaning or cooking or whatever it is. And then same thing with work. I only have so many hours, so what absolutely needs to stay on my to-do list, on the plan, and what can get pushed. And whether it's getting pushed for a week, a month, a quarter, a whole year. So far, it's early enough in the year that I haven't had to push anything a year. But it's something to keep in mind that you are not necessarily saying, I'm never gonna do this thing. You are saying, I'm not gonna do this thing right now. Whatever resources it is that is causing you to need to cut back, whether it's a financial, time commitment, support, whatever it is, you're not saying that this is going to be this way forever. You're prioritizing for right now. Last thing, before I get into the actual how-to, the tips part of this video, this prioritization exercise, or these questions that I'm going to have you think through, questions that I've thought through over the last few months, it's not like I have all these goals I want to do and now I need to prioritize them. It's like I've already made a plan and now I need to adjust it and now I need to prioritize it. Or I have all these things that I need to do on a regular basis, cook, clean, take care of my daughter, and I've got to figure out how I'm going to make it all happen. Before we get into the questions to ask yourself, I want to start with the first big tip when it comes to prioritizing when things are kind of out of control, or things at least feel out of control. And that is to plan on a shorter time frame. I love to make a plan for a year, for a quarter, and that's typically how I have done things in the past. I actually have a whole video that I've created called How I Plan My Life and My Goals, and it's my entire planning process from start to finish. And while I would like for that's like my baseline, how I would like to plan my life and my goals, that is not how I have been planning my life for the last couple of months. What I've had to do is plan on a shorter time frame, because this is always true. The further out you go, the less that you know. The further out of a time frame that you're thinking about or planning on, the less concrete information you have about that time frame. And so you are making guesses. And sometimes you're making guesses based on really good information, right? Really good data. And the chances of it like veering off course are small, right? But sometimes you are planning with very little information. And so you are making guesses. And if you are in a stage of life, and this could be because something specific is going on, or this could just be how things are for you right now, plan on a shorter time frame. Don't look at the person that's making a 3-year plan or even a quarterly plan. Start with a smaller set. So for the last couple of months, sometimes I didn't even make a weekly plan. Sometimes I just took it one day at a time and was planning one day at a time and applying these prioritization questions to one day at a time. You got to figure out what the time frame is that looks right for you, but just remember that if you feel like you are struggling to prioritize all the things, try shortening the time frame a little bit. Okay, let's get into those 5 questions. So these are you don't necessarily have to do them in this order, but I found that this order makes the most sense when it comes to the confidence of being able to make decisions and move forward with things. So the first one is, what has a time frame attached to it? So which things on your list have a date associated that is not within your control? That's really important. Which of these things has a date that has either already been announced, already been scheduled, and something that you cannot control? Now, again, this is all gonna be very specific to your life, and so you're gonna get to make these decisions. And there might be some dates, I'm gonna give you an example for one of mine that actually is something in my control, but not something that I wanted to change. And so that date was still on the calendar, and I had to figure out how to prioritize that when the time came. And that was the in-person event. So if you've not seen me talk about it, we are having an in-person event in August, which I'm so excited about. There are still tickets available if you want to come join us. It's in Chicago. There's a bunch of events over the course of the weekend that don't need a ticket, and there's one birthday party where you will need a ticket to come to that event. Sorry, slight tangent. That date, once again, in my control, but I didn't want to move it, and I needed to get those tickets on sale. So even though there were other work things on my list, that one had to get done. Something like our trip to Argentina, right? That was already booked and planned, and that wasn't going to get changed. In fact, we really couldn't do anything about it because we were going with the company. And so that was something, preparing and going on that trip and whatever else that meant for our work and all of our other situations, we had to figure out. Now, if we had to, we could have canceled that trip. I understand that. And maybe you're like screaming at me right now saying that's a really bad example, Laken, but I'm giving you in my personal life, these are the things that I prioritize. And it meant that there were some other things that got deprioritized. There were some other things that we had either planned to do or wanted to do. And we decided, you know what, that's not gonna be a priority because we need to focus on X, Y, and Z in order to prepare for our trip to Argentina. The next question to ask yourself is, what could get cut completely? Just be ruthless. And just like I mentioned earlier, cut doesn't mean cut forever. It means, what could you cut right now? What doesn't have to be happening right now? There was one big, if you watch my quarterly goals check-in video for my business goals, I talked about updating my website things and my email funnels. That just got taken off the list in Q1, I mean. It just was not something that I was going to have time or capacity for without overthinking it. That was one thing that I knew that I could just take off the list. When you are staring at a list of goals or tasks or whatever it is for a day, a week, a month, it doesn't matter. Ask yourself, what can get cut from this list? What does not have to happen right now on this list? Question number 3 is, what on your list could get decreased? What could you just make smaller? There are some things on your list that are going to be all or nothing. I know I sit here and tell you don't get caught in that all or nothing trap, and I stand behind that. I mean, I have a whole video on the all or nothing mindset. But there are definitely things on your list that could just get decreased or made smaller. Maybe you have it on your plan to work out 5 times a week, cut it back to 2. Maybe you have it on your plan to do 2 YouTube videos a week and you cut it back to 1, right? What are the things on your list that could get decreased? Yes, unfortunately, this means that your progress is gonna be slower. It means that your income might be a little bit less. But sometimes when we're in a state that we've got to prioritize, we can't do everything we wanna do to its max capacity. And so look at your list and ask yourself, what can you decrease or what can you make smaller? Next question is, what can you simplify? Now, there's probably some overlap here with the last question, but let me give you some specific examples. So there have got to be things on your list that you are overcomplicating. I'm probably talking to myself in this scenario, right? Different systems, different routines, different things that you have that you are making complicated. And sometimes when life is throwing you all these curveballs, it gives you an opportunity to really take a step back and be like, what am I making too complicated? What can I simplify? And it might be that you're just simplifying it for a period of time, right? For example, y'all know I don't like cooking anyway, but cooking, shopping, meal planning, that whole process takes a lot of time. Now, on a regular basis, that is what we do because from a financial standpoint, it makes more sense. But temporarily, while we have other things going on, getting one of those meal delivery services is an option to simplify that process, right? I'm not gonna cut meals right? Like that's not something I can cut. It's not something that I can make smaller, right? We're still gonna eat the same number of meals. I mean, we could, but I'm not going to. But it is something I could simplify, something that I could make it not just cause as much of a headache. Now, it does mean that there's another resource I'm going to have to tap in there, which is financial, because in my scenario, it is more expensive to do one of those meal delivery services, but that's a trade-off that I have to decide whether or not it's worth it given what's going on. Now, some things that we decide to simplify could be like a long-term simplification. And while I was taking this kind of step back and thinking about things, I realized that there were some aspects to the merch part of Plan with Laken that were more complicated than they needed to be. So we are in the process of switching over to something different, which means that all the current merch is on like super discount. So you may have already seen this because I mentioned it in a few other places. So by the time this video goes up, I'm hoping that there's still something available for you to go snag. And it's definitely gonna be one of those tiered discounts that over the course of time, I'm just gonna keep lowering the price because I'm just getting rid of the stock. But that is an example of something that I was thinking about what I could simplify. And this is gonna be a long-term simplification, right? The meals example is a temporary one, and this is a long-term one. The last question is definitely the most difficult, which is why we saved it for the end. And that's just asking yourself what's important. And nobody gets to make that decision except for you. And important can mean so many different things. Is it important to your mental health? Is it important to your physical health? Is it important because you just need to do it to keep you alive? Is it important to your business staying afloat? Is it important to your paycheck? Is it important? Like there are so many ways to define importance, and nobody gets to make those decisions except for you. To somebody, keeping their house clean during a stressful time might be incredibly important. To somebody else, it might be not important at all. To some people, making sure that they are to some people, making sure that they're still getting a workout in, even if they've decreased it or made it smaller, is still important. To some people, they're just gonna write that off for the time being, planning on that shorter time frame like we talked about. You get to decide what is important, and that is the last step, so that hopefully by the time you've done all of these other steps, these other questions, and you've thought about it, by the time you get to this one, you have a pretty good understanding of what's important to you and what's left on the list that you need to figure out what to do about it. I have a couple more little last minute tips to think about while you're going through this process. Number one is it may take a couple of tries. You may go through all the questions and you may look at your list and still be like, there is no way. There's no way that this happened to me today. The day that I'm filming this video, we are getting on a plane in the morning, and filming these videos was one of the things that I was on the must-do list. But I made the list last night, and then I woke up this morning and I looked at it again and was like, there's no way. There is no way, unless I don't sleep in the next 24 hours, that I'm gonna get all this done before we get on a plane. So what is important? What are the things that I need to keep? And I mean, go through the list again. I probably already thought about all the time frame things, right? I cut something completely. What could get cut? What could get decreased? What could I just make it a little bit smaller? What could I simplify, right? What could I make it not as complicated? For example, I typically pack snacks on the plane for Lila in a little, one of those little snaggle boxes, right? And I put little different things in the boxes, and I do think it helps, and it makes me happy, it makes her happy, all the things. That is something I don't need to do for this flight tomorrow, right? This flight got booked less than 48 hours in advance. Getting snacks in the bag is the priority. That I'm not gonna cut, but I can simplify how I pack the snacks. And then I just have to decide what else is important. So it may take a couple iterations for you to get to a plan that you can actually execute on, or at least you feel like you can execute on. I'm not saying to take the planning and procrastinate the heck out of actually doing the things. Don't get so caught up in the planning and the questions that you are procrastinating and you stay away from actually doing the things. But know that it may not all work out just perfectly on the first try. The last thing I want to remind you of here, and I am talking to myself at this point, sometimes you just have to listen to your gut. And you've probably heard me say this before, and every time I'm frustrated that I can't give credit to whoever I learned it from. Your gut feeling is your brain taking all the information that you have gathered in your entire life and calculating a decision really, really fast and sending it to your body. It is still a thought out decision. It's just happening so fast that you don't realize it. So if you are a logic, pro-con-less, brain thinking kind of person, and you've struggled in the past with trusting your gut, It's okay. It's still your brain making that decision just really quickly with all the information that you already have in your brain that you've accumulated over all of the years of your life. So it's okay to trust your gut and decide this is the right decision for me, for my family, for my business, for my whatever it is. Go with your gut, especially in these times, in these periods that I am speaking from personal experience of the decision-making, the prioritizing. We don't have all the time in the world. And as much as I'd love to make some pro-con lists and to make some logical spreadsheets and decisions and all the things, there's only so much time. And my time is better spent doing other things. So I've got to listen to my gut. I've got to make decisions quickly and just keep moving. All right, that's all that I have for you. This video on prioritizing probably could have been a lot shorter because ultimately when you're in these situations, you've got to just make quick decisions and move on. But hopefully you have this video in your back pocket for when you need it, and hopefully it was helpful. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, comment below with the little watch emoji, because one of the big, if not the biggest constraint for most of us is time. And so I know that that can be a really difficult thing to consider when you're prioritizing. So comment with a watch emoji. And if you like this video, if you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you so much for watching. Veering off course is, blah, blah, blah. Actually, I'm just gonna say that differently. That is some, blah, blah, blah. The whys are no other example in my head. But from a temporary standpoint, how do I wrap this up?